5, 4, 3, 2.
Tier 1 performance.
Hey guys, welcome back to In and Out Talks, sponsored by Tier 1 Performance. We are here with today's special guest, Caston Peter. Caston, really appreciate you bringing on the podcast today.
Of course.
On your busy day on a Sunday, no less. All right, but why don't you go ahead and start us off by telling us where you're from and how you got into baseball.
Yeah, so appreciate the intro. I'm Caston Peter. I'm born and raised in Houston. I grew up in the Spring Branch area. I went to Stratford High School.
Nice.
And baseball has really been the only sport I've ever played.
Okay.
I just loved, I could never play enough baseball. And if you ask my parents and my brothers, it's like all they remember growing up is going to my baseball games, and I could not play. Like there's stories where people around my family were like, "Hey, do you think he's young? Like, is he playing too much baseball? You don't want him to get burnt out."
Yeah.
And that just was never the case, because I would throw fits and I wanted to play as much as I could.
You just loved it.
Yeah, exactly.
Was your whole family a baseball family, or
No,
just you?
Just me. So
Okay.
I have two brothers. I'm the middle, so I got an older and a younger brother. My older brother was a golfer,
wow.
and then my younger brother played basketball and football.
So athletic family. Just
somewhat.
Okay.
I won't tell you which brother's the more athletic one, but
For sure.
yeah. But my older brother played baseball like most kids do up until you really get to middle school.
Right.
And he was actually a catcher. That's what position I played. I was a catcher, and he's why I started playing catcher, because I saw my older brother putting on the catcher's gear, and I was like, man, that's what I want to do.
Right.
He was probably playing catcher because he was the worst one out there, but nonetheless, that's how I got into catching and really played catcher from first year of kid pitch until I stopped playing baseball.
So when you got to high school and you started the recruiting process, did you know you wanted to, I guess as a freshman, did you know you wanted to go play college baseball?
Yeah, and if you would have talked to me at the end of each year of high school, my answer probably would have been different.
Okay.
I was fortunate enough to start on varsity as a freshman, which I probably had the most growth as a baseball player between my freshman and sophomore year of high school, because you kind of get thrown into it with these seniors that have facial hair, and I'm just like
grown men, 18-year-olds, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I knew I always wanted to play college baseball, but my parents did a really good job of, especially my dad, of talking to me, especially when we talk about recruiting and where you're going to go to college, is like.
For sure.
Everybody's baseball career ends at some point. Now,
Without a doubt.
You're not in control of when it's going to end, and that's the unfortunate thing. Well, I say that. You can step away from the game on your own accord, but there's other external factors that you can't really control.
I agree.
And so it was always of, you're gonna study, you're gonna get good grades, and you're gonna go to a college or a junior college where you can then go get a good 4-year degree. And so it was always kind of school first, baseball second.
Okay.
And so I wanted to play college baseball, but I also knew that was going to come to an end at some point. And so I needed to have kind of a backup plan, if you want to call it that.
So when you had this conversation with your parents, or when you had this sort of plan, figured out that you wanted to go play college baseball, but academics was a big factor in it, I would say. When did this occur? Was it sophomore year, freshman year?
I would say probably freshman year.
Okay.
Kind of in between freshman and sophomore year. I was playing summer baseball, and I played for actually the Kyle Chapman team in Houston,
Right.
which that's how I met. Kind of got connected to you guys.
Right now.
But I mean, that organization, I can't speak highly enough about them, and that's kind of their MO, is that like they are an organization because they want to have students and baseball players go to college or get into a college that they may not have been able to get into if it weren't for baseball.
Right.
And so it's kind of that two-tone aspect of it is baseball and academics.
No, and I speak really well about Kyle Chapman because they have a lot of my friends play for Kyle Chapman.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys that that play for Kyle Chapman, like Nick played for Kyle Chapman. His brother, Phil, played for Kyle Chapman. Blake Ledoux played for Kyle Chapman. There's a bunch of people I know that played for Kyle Chapman. It's a great program, and I think they're still around.
Yeah, they are.
And they're still doing a lot of damage out here. So, I mean, that is 100%, I think, a great thing for student athletes in baseball in Houston. I mean, and also Nick was one of the guys that we had on here, and he goes, I basically just wanted to utilize my athletic ability for baseball to like maximize my academic potential and and get a free degree, money out of it, and have a good time. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
And like when you think about it on the back end, because most baseball players aren't trying to say like, I just want to play baseball so I can get free money or free education. That's just a part of it. That's utilizing your resources. But you want to also consider that like it is going to end.
Yeah.
And as long as you go to college, you at the most are just gaining an extra 4 years. Mm-hmm. And there's no guarantee you're going to go after that, right? So it is good to have a plan. I always tell my kids to have a plan and all that. So once you got on to Kyle Chapman, explain how did you go about getting recruited and how did you end up where you would eventually go to play? I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think about it now because, like, I feel like recruiting every year happens earlier and earlier. Like, you hear about 8th graders and 9th graders getting scholarships to go play college. And it happens early. And honestly, if you told an 8th grader or 9th grader, hey, we want you to come to my university, they're not even 50% of the way done with high school. And so the organization I played for, Kyle Chapman, and the Houston Heat did the same, is they do such a good job of getting you in front of college scouts and playing in tournaments with really good competition where people are going to show up. I think on our Kyle Chapman team, we had 4 guys go to University of Texas, which is where I was ended up. We had a couple other D1s. Phil went to Louisiana Tech, and it's just such a good job of getting you in front of scouts. And so my position was a little bit unique because I will say I may have peaked a little bit too early. As a sophomore, I had a really good summer. And as you know, the summer is when you get recruited.
Yeah, especially as a sophomore, that's the prime time. Sophomore, junior year.
I had a really good sophomore summer. Was swinging the bat better than I ever had.
Okay.
Had a couple schools reach out, talk to me, and nothing really panned out. And so I kind of transitioned of, let me go get in front of these coaches and talk to them. So I started going to camps. I went to a University of Texas camp because I knew that was a school that really good academics in one of, if not the best college baseball programs in the country. Got in front of the coaches, talked to them, and then, it was a unique position because they kind of had a huge recruiting class. They were in transition of a new coaching staff. Mm-hmm. Augie Rito retired.
That's right.
And then David Pierce took over there. And so it was actually when I got offered, backdate about a week, there was a Houston area high school baseball all-star game that was hosted at U of H, and I got invited to play in it.
Okay.
If you would have asked me before, I was like, I really don't want to go play in this thing. Like, it was a 3-hour showcase where you hit BP and you run 60-yard dash and pop times
Hundreds
and
of
all that
kids.
sort of stuff. Yeah, and then you have a game. Well, as you know, in early summer around Houston, every afternoon there's a thunder shower and rain. So we got lightninged out, and we ended up not playing the game until like 9 or 10 p.m. And
they still played it?
And we still played it.
Wow.
And come to find out, there was a University of Texas assistant coach that was there. And I hit a double over the center fielder's head, caught pretty well. And after that, I got invited to come on an unofficial visit. Nice. Went up the next week, met with the coaching staff, and they offered me a preferred walk-on. And that was, that getting scholarships in baseball is hard.
Super hard. 11 and a half.
Especially when
on a 40-man
I think
roster.
it's changed now, but
Yes.
when we were up, you get 11 and a half scholarships for 27 guys. the baseball roster is 35. I mean,
Right. Now I think it's 35. Roster cut is max 35.
Yeah.
You and the colleges have the option to pay up to 35 scholarships. But
Yeah.
they don't get 35
Yeah.
scholarships either. Yes.
so it was the perfect opportunity, you know, like going to school in Austin, being a part of that baseball program and getting such a great education.
Yep.
I was like, I can't say no to this. And so that's how
You ended up at UT.
I ended up at UT. Yep.
So when it came to that recruitment and you were catching, you said you blossomed and all that, like, and you were playing for Kyle Chapman. Now, it's not just playing for Kyle Chapman. It's not so simple, or it's not so easy to get on that team just to go in, try out,
Yeah.
and now they're going to put you in these tournaments in front of these scouts. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that. There is a bare minimum requirement of or level of baseball you have to play to even be considered to play for those teams, to be in what we call that elite Houston circuit.
Yeah.
You know, where you get the Banditos, you get the Wildcatters, you get, you know, Kyle Chapman, the 12. Although there's an elite, I say circuit, but it's just a bare minimum level of competition. It's
Yeah.
not like single A, double A, triple A, don't matter, come out and play. But my question is to you, where were you at as a player? Like, what was your pop time? What were you sitting? How much did you weigh? How tall were you? How were you hitting and all
Yeah.
that? What kind of player you were?
I will say, so I started playing Kyle Chapman after my freshman year of high school. So in between freshman and sophomore year, which I think was a year early. Philip and I played up a year.
Okay.
And then we played on the same, I think the 16U team twice. Once when we were 15 and once when we were 16.
Okay. Is
So
that when you met like Ledoux and all them?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I was probably 6 foot, 190, 200 pounds, not all that different from what I am today.
Okay.
And my pop time was 2 to 1.9. I mean, in a showcase, it's a lot easier to get a better pop time
1.8,
because
but
like that's
versus
all
a
you're
real-
thinking about is
Yeah.
you're not thinking about the batter swinging. And that's something that we can get into later is there's a difference of being a showcase player and
100%.
a gamer.
100%. Yes.
And so I probably comped pretty well on pop time. I had pretty quick feet, which is hard to believe. I couldn't run all that fast, but
Yeah.
I could get it down quickly. I didn't have the strongest arm. I wasn't the most athletic, but
Were you a
I
defensive
think
like blocker?
I was. That's where, and that's probably why I got an opportunity at Texas is defense. And as a catcher, you don't have to go hit 350 with 20 home runs in a college season.
Just be a wall.
That's a huge plus. I mean, think about when the Astros won the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
Not to throw shade on Martin Maldonado, but he was a 200 hitter, but one of the, if not
Saving
the greatest
runs. Yeah.
defensive catchers in the game. And so there's a premium for that. So it's a lot
100%.
easier to, it's just less pressure hitting wise, which kind of is a peace of mind, if you want to call it
Yeah,
that.
no, I also consider that, like, if you got runners in scoring position and your catcher makes 3 crazy blocks, right? You think about it, that's 3 runs.
Yeah.
So you might as well call that 3 bombs, you know, when you think
Yeah.
about it. And, like, I mean, I played center field. So when I'm in center field and, you know, I immediately see our pitcher hook it and I'm like, oh, crap, like, you know it's going into the dirt.
Yeah.
And only people that see it live action is me and you, because I'm
Yeah.
behind the pitcher and you're behind the plate, and you are already reacting and moving. And then, you know, when I see my catcher block the ball, and then the runners freeze or come down, or even better, you block it, pick it, throw it down,
Yeah.
like, you know, something like as intense as that, and I gotta move to back you up, or, you know, now the base runners are on high alert, like.
Yeah.
That is impressive in and of itself. Changes the momentum pace of the
Oh, for
game.
sure.
And it also is like, he just saved us a run. That's why he's behind there. Love that. And like, you can overlook that he doesn't hit 350
Yeah.
with 25 bombs, because he has 0 errors behind the plate and he's involved in every pitch.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so I think it's huge.
catcher is a position that I like to say it's a really good catcher almost goes unnoticed. But if you have a catcher that's struggling, not blocking, dropping pitches, that's where everyone's eyes goes. Everyone's
Correct.
watching the ball.
Correct.
And it's easy. Like a third baseman, if or an outfielder, if you're not getting the best jump, like most people that are watching baseball that didn't play competitive baseball, you don't really see that. But a catcher, everyone's like, you're supposed to block the ball, you're supposed
Picking
to catch
you
the ball.
apart, yeah.
And so all eyes are on you. And so if things aren't going well, it's hard to go unnoticed. But a really good catcher that just does that, you make it look routine. It's hard to get praise from people that aren't know the game as competitively as others.
And when you specifically were training to get to that level of being like a top tier D1 catcher, a prospect, if you will, like what was your training regimen like? How was your training regimen compared to your peers? And two, how did your training regimen fit into your life?
Yeah.
Like into your work schedule?
Well, I grew up and my parents did such a good job of this, is like, you can only control so much. And nowadays, I feel like it's especially important.
Mm-hmm.
You can control how much you work and how hard you work. And so that's what I kind of mindset is no one's going to work harder than I am.
Right.
And I know a lot of people say that, but I truly tried to live it I know this is where I want to go. And I may not be the most talented. I may not be the best, most athletic, but I'm going to work hard and get the most out of my God-given talents.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in season, staying healthy is such a big importance, especially as a catcher. I mean, you're in a squat position all day, and
you're grinding, arguably the most utilized body in baseball. Yeah.
And so your strength training has to be top tier, and your recovery has to be top tier.
Yes.
And that, I think recovery is something that doesn't get talked about.
Not nearly enough, especially on the catching side.
Yeah. And you talk to some people don't like to lift a ton of weights when they're in season. Some people like to train even harder when they're in season. But I think getting in a routine of something that is consistent week over week. So to give you an example of when I was playing at Texas, Monday was our off days. We had games Tuesday and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I would work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, regardless. Tuesday, Thursday was recovery, and we'd have practice in between. But continuing to strength train in season and keeping my body healthy, that's the biggest thing. Because there's people, and we were talking about it before we got on, that have great God-given talents. They're super athletic, but they get hurt and they aren't able to reach their maximum potential.
Now, when you say working out, practice, and recovery, what do you mean by working out? What do you mean by training? And then what do you mean by recovery?
Yeah, so working out, lifting weights. I mean, doing some Olympic style weightlifting, so bench press, squat, cleans, and just getting your body in quick twitch explosive movements. And so squat, I'd say our big three was squat, bench press, and deadlift and cleans.
Barbell or dumbbell?
It depends. I was somebody that kind of struggled with some shoulder injuries. And so I would usually do dumbbell, lower weight, kind of more high volume, just to continue to get that stability in my shoulder. But yeah, so that's what I did. And then recovery,
strength and conditioning.
Yeah, strength and conditioning. And then recovery, it would be going in the training room and getting cupping was a big thing. That was kind of a newer thing when I was in college.
Yeah, it's still widely used to this day.
And then getting in the cold tub or getting in the hot tub and doing contrast of just making sure you're healthy, because I mean, to take you into a day in the life of a Division I college athlete, you usually have some sort of workout or running or training or conditioning in the morning. Then you go to class all day. Then you come back, and then you're hitting before practice, or you're working on receiving drills and blocking and stuff. And then you have a 2 or 3 hour practice, and then you stay after, and then you recover. And so it's a full-time job, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so taking care of your body, if you can't be on the field, you're not doing your team any good. So you have to take care of yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you kind of little questions about your workout, your baseball training, and then your recovery. So as far as your strength and conditioning for your for lifting, and conditioning, do you think catchers should be doing things separately and differently from infielders and pitchers?
That's a good question. I think in their conditioning and stuff, yes, but I think when it comes to like weightlifting, I think position players, and that's kind of how we broke it up, is position players versus pitchers. Like pitchers, I think need to be especially careful with weight training, because they're the most injury prone because they're throwing a ball. They're starting pitcher 90,
It's
100
all explosive
pitches. Yeah.
for like 100 pitches.
And so they had a different workout schedule than us. But as a catcher, what I would say is where you need to prioritize is your legs.
Yeah,
that is
I'd agree.
That's the first thing to give.
It's what feeds the wolf, right?
Exactly. So I think whereas a shortstop, everyone needs lower body strength, but I don't think a shortstop or a center fielder needs to be maybe focus on lower body as much as a catcher, but as fatigue sets in, the first thing to go is your lower body, and your lower half, especially hitting. And so as a catcher, I think that's where it's important to focus on your lower body, your glutes and your hamstrings and your quads and your flexibility. That's another thing that I kind of skipped over when we were talking about weight training, but especially as a catcher, flexibility.
Yeah, we'll talk about flexibility.
Yeah.
I have a flexibility question tied into recovery because I feel like it kind of goes into recovery and preventive. But going to skill training as a catcher, I think catching is probably the most skilled position. I mean, they're all very skilled, and you can get technical with every position, especially individual outfielding, every individual infield. First base is its own monster.
Yeah.
Pitching's its own monster if you really dive into it. It's why they get paid the most.
Yeah.
But like catching, from like you said, like just a visual standpoint to the common person, not even the most analytical person, it is like you have to be on point. So when it came to training and catching, like framing, blocking, stamina, recovery, knowing the game while having it all instinct, right? So all your skill training, would you train that just so that's muscle memory? Like you don't even think about that.
Yeah.
Blocking, framing, pitch count, all that stuff, back picks, throwdowns, all that stuff.
I think. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask you, like, how intense is that for you, and how often did you practice those things? Was it like, hey, it's like T-work, I got to do it every day till you master at a certain level, or is it like, no, I got it down, I'm fine, we got to move on to something else, I'm already involved in the game enough? Yeah.
So there's two things that are really important to that. Is the attention to detail is everything. Every single aspect of catching, of receiving, blocking, footwork, all that sort of stuff. Even like tag plays, which is something that I never practiced until I got to college. Like it's one of those where like just so small, and you may only get one or two tag plays or plays at the plate a season. But when that happens, you have to be ready.
Yeah, it's the biggest moment.
And so that's where the attention to detail is so important. If you gotta almost do it so much that it just becomes second nature and you don't even think about it. And then just working hard and getting in your own routine, that's huge. So whether that routine is, 10 hits off the tee, 10 front toss, 10 overhand, and then we'll get into our full BP or whatever scale you kind of want. But finding your routine of something that you did, and that's something like as catchers, practice, especially in college, you hit BP on the field every day. Yeah. During BP, that's where a lot of people, you can either like sit in the outfield and shag fly balls, or you can make the most of that time and
work on your jumps.
Hard. So catchers would we'd do the same thing. We'd go receive, do some blocks, do some tag plays, and that's every single day. Because the last thing you want to do is, like for tag play, for instance, like if season's on the line and you got a tag play at the plate and you're not prepared and ready for it because you didn't practice that, that's you're doing your team and yourself disservice because you didn't practice it. So that's the thing is finding your routine, and everybody's routine is different. And then just getting comfortable and practicing everything and working hard.
What would you say is the most critical for a high schooler trying to go to college, or maybe necessarily as a college player trying to go pro? What are the major things you think as a catcher that have to be like undisputed? Like what should they work on the most? Like what needs to be like the most polished?
Well, it's easy to say receiving and blocking because that's you receive every pitch and you're going to block a lot of pitches too.
Right.
And receiving is especially important because if you can steal a strike for your pitcher, that's huge. If you look at the statistics of batting average by count, it's really unbelievable. And like you, as a hitter, like if you get down 0-1, you're like, all right, I got 2 strikes. Like no one really panics. But if you just look at the stats, it's a huge difference between starting 0-1 and 1-0. So as many pitches as you can steal for your pitcher, that is huge. And that's one way where pitchers like to throw to catchers that they're comfortable with behind the plate, and they're stealing strikes and going to bat for them. And then you also have to be able to block pitches and give your pitcher comfortability that 0-2 slider in the dirt, that they can throw it and try to get a swing and miss, and you're going to block it. Because if you're a catcher and you're struggling to block, your pitcher is not going to have any confidence in you. And he's got a hard time. Yeah. He's got a hard time enough. And so you got to do everything you can to help him and to fight for him. So that's the thing of trying to make that move to the next level is you earn your pitcher's trust and respect by being able to receive the ball and block the ball.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, because I can tell as an outfielder that when, a pitcher throws a ball in the dirt and a catcher doesn't block it and it goes to the back and the runners advance, and now that pitcher's like, great, now I'm down a ball, I got to throw a strike, and on top of that, I got to really make sure it's in the strike zone so my catcher can catch it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be I can't finesse it too much, because if I miss and I throw it a little too low, maybe it goes back and now these runners score.
Yeah.
Versus like him framing a pitch off, right? So I understand that completely. To the recovery side, like I was getting to, for stretching, how important is it for catchers to be flexible, stretch, and be able to move like very fluidly, like, because we all know most catchers aren't scrawny or skinny or nimble or gymnasts, but they're on the thicker side. They have powerful, explosive legs. But most catchers, especially when I played at a high level in college, were very flexible, and they were very quick, and they had to be able to move. It was all within like a 5-foot radius. Yeah. But I mean, it was lightning, because I mean, they react to 100 mile an hour, 95 mile an hour pitch, 86 mile an hour slider in the dirt with some spin. So how important was that for you?
It's huge. I mean, it's everything. Catchers need to have hip mobility, knee mobility, and not only does it keep you healthy, but it, like you said, it enables you to have short, explosive movements. Because everyone knows, like, if you take somebody that's a professional Mr. Olympia bodybuilder and try to get them into a catcher's position, they're probably going to sit pretty high to the ground, just because they're not going to have that kind of flexibility. And some people do. But as a catcher, the lower you can get to the ground, the easier it is to steal strikes, because everything that's being taught as a catcher is moving from the ground up. You never want, especially a low pitch, which is the hardest pitch to frame, you got to get underneath it. And it's so much easier to get underneath it if you're lower to the ground than you are if you're sitting up high on your heels. It's hard to make that pitch.
Is that how you avoid blowing up your thumb, really?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because you see catchers all the time with those thumb guards or taped hands, and, obviously sometimes it depends on the pitcher or the pitch or what happened, maybe a foul ball, whatever, but they really, to get underneath that low pitch and really frame it strong, coming through that ball with all those RPMs coming in, you really got to get underneath it. And I see catchers all the time just get down and lose that low pitch just because the form breaks.
And a lot of people give up on it too. Like, if it's low enough and you can't get underneath it, you just lose a potential strike for your pitcher. But flexibility is one of the most important things as a catcher. Just because, one, it keeps you healthy, and it's going to allow you to play the position at a high level.
No, excellent. I agree with that 100%, full-heartedly. What were some of the things you learned at UT that were, that changed the game or changed your perspective of the game?
Yeah. What I loved about the coaching staff at Texas is, in a way, they let you be who you were. And for example, if you have a young kid in high school or middle school right now and they go get hitting lessons, I would say, and at least when I was growing up and what I've experienced coaching today, is 9 times out of 10, the coach is going to be, hey, bring your hands up, spread out. Like, it's almost like a cookie cutter batting stance, where if you look at Major League Baseball players, everybody's stance is different. Nobody is the same. Like, think of people like Kevin Youkilis that have such a unique batting stance.
You're talking about blast from the past.
Yeah, I know.
His head all over here and stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone used to imitate him. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, people like Jeff Bagwell that are like super low to the ground.
Yeah.
But they let you be who you were. Some people are comfortable narrow. Some people are comfortable spread out. But when it comes to like an analytical piece or a technical detail of hitting, if you look at most Major League Baseball players, where they are at the point of contact,
They're all the same.
It's all the same.
They're all the same. Yeah.
They may start in a different position, but they eventually get there. And so that's where what I learned in college is like, hey, if you want your hands to start low, that's fine. But how do we get you to be in a finished position at contact like this?
Like where we need you to be.
And so that's at Texas that was so big, is that they didn't come in and say, hey, you need to do this, this, and this. They let you be your most athletic swing, which is huge. Because if you try to take somebody that's comfortable in one area with their hands or with their feet or whatnot, with their head, and then try to move them to something else, it's a little bit uncomfortable. And don't get me wrong, there are times where you may need to make those adjustments even if they are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's not of where, hey, this is how we hit and this is how everyone's going to look. I mean, if you look at Texas's college team today, everyone's got a unique swing.
Yeah.
But I know what they're teaching, and at contact, they're all trying to be in the same spot.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. This next question, it's kind of like a leading question, which goes to another point. So when you were catching, when you at UT, when you played, or when you didn't play, or when you were in the bullpen, and you're learning kind of the culture of the team and how the coaches call the games, did that help you see how to properly call a game, or did you kind of like inherit how UT plays baseball as far as their pitching staff goes?
Yeah.
And did that help you hitting wise?
So I'll answer the first part as it relates to being a catcher and calling games, and it's huge. And I think the one thing that I learned is every pitch, whether it's a ball, strike, home run, has a purpose.
Has meaning. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if you're a sinker slider type pitcher, which was a lot of the pitchers at Texas at my time were, and to give kind of you and the listeners somebody that would be the opposite, is you have a four seam and maybe a 12-6 curveball, more of like a power pitcher where they're going to throw up in the zone four seams, where sinker sliders play well off of each other. But if you're throwing sliders in, sinkers in, sliders away, a great pitch off of that. So every pitch has a purpose of, if you miss a pitch way up in the zone, as a pitch caller, okay, this is what the hitter's eyes just saw.
Correct.
What can we mimic a pitch that looks like that may not be like that? So if you miss a pitch up in the zone and then you throw an off speed off of that, out of the hand, it may look the same, and the hitter may take it. And so just learning kind of the ins and outs of that, of like every pitch
and the sequence.
Yeah, you're trying to set up to eventually get to an end goal. And so that was a huge thing as it relates to catching. Now hitting, it's still pretty difficult. I mean, I mean, to give you an example, we play fall ball. I think it's like 45 or 60 days straight where we're pretty much playing an inner squad every single day.
Live reps.
And so you only have so many pitchers on a college team. You're seeing these guys every day, every other day. It doesn't make it any easier. I mean, eventually it gets easier because you kind of know what they like to do.
Yeah.
And as a catcher, you really get to see like tendencies in pitchers of, hey, if they need an out, this is the pitch they like to go to. Or just being able to see like, hey, he doesn't really have a feel for his changeup. Like, you can kind of eliminate that. But it's still, don't get me wrong, very difficult.
Still very difficult.
But just learning tendencies in pitchers and what they like and don't like to do, it helps.
So based on what you're telling me, it seems to me that UT, at the time that you were there, they pitched to their opponent based off their pitcher's strengths.
Yeah.
And they went, my guy's strengths first via pitch style, not so much pitch area.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I would say, because, for example, if you got a pitcher that their curveball is their worst pitch, but this hitter, man, he really struggles against curveballs. Well, if it's our pitcher's worst pitch and he's not comfortable throwing it, then why
are we doing it?
Why are you doing it? Like, you need to pitch to your pitcher strength, and then once you look at that, okay, what's the best way to get this hitter out with the pitching style? So, like, if you have a guy that's a sinker ball hitter, or sinker ball pitcher, sorry, and you have a hitter that really struggles with a pitch up in the zone. Well, if you try to throw a sinker up in the zone, it's going to flatten out and they're probably going to crush it because a sinker baller, they get outs because they have subtle movement on their fastball. Right. So that's the thing is, like, just because a hitter struggles in one area doesn't mean you go attack that area with everything, because if you have a pitcher that can't execute that, then it's kind of worthless.
Is that the same game plan from, like, obviously that would be your starter's game plan, but is it the same with relievers, short relievers, and closers for y'all?
I would say so. I mean, most of the back end bullpen guys, they have pitches, usually at least a pitch that is just nasty, and that's why they're in the game 8-9 inning with the game on the line most of the time. And so if it's a nasty pitch and they have confidence in it, then why would you try to do anything different, you know? So it really is, if you got a guy that has a nasty slider, but he also has a curveball, and a hitter struggles with curveballs, why would you not throw his nastiest pitch, you know?
Right.
So
yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Let's talk about the mental side of baseball. How, in your words, would you describe the mental side of baseball? And before you dive into it, just from a playing perspective, not as who you are at UT, but as a player perspective in general, how is the mental side for you?
Yeah. And that is something that I didn't really appreciate until I got to college, and that's where our assistant coaches and our head coach was such a big proponent of. Mental is one of the most important pieces of baseball, and everyone knows, like, when you're going through a slump and you don't have much confidence, it is hard, and no one likes being in that situation, but you have to have the mental toughness to be able to get through those valleys. And so it's hard to practice because it's something that's an intangible.
It's like a trial and error type thing.
But just having the mindset of controlling what you can control. You can't control what an umpire is going to call. You can't control what pitch the pitcher's going to throw. And just believing in yourself, and that starts with your preparation and your practice. Because if you do everything you can before a game and you're prepared, baseball is a game where you're going to fail 7 times out of 10, and it's hard.
If
and
you're
that's
lucky.
why, yeah, exactly. if you're a Hall of Famer, and it's going to have times where you're in an 0 for 20 slump and it feels like you're never going to hit. But staying in your preparation and doing everything you can in your control, if you don't find the results, that's baseball. And that's where we'll probably get into it, but I'm coaching some 10-year-olds, and that's the biggest thing is everyone wants success now, and they want it forever, and they want it immediate. And that's just not the way baseball is.
Yeah. Before we dive into your 10-year-olds, for you, how did you get out of those slumps, or what? It sounds like to me it's more like for you it was about consistency. Like, hey, we got to just let go, move on tomorrow, learn from it, push past it, and trust the process kind of scenario for you.
Yeah, and relying on your teammates too. I mean, no one pulls harder for you than your teammates,
right.
And that is a characteristic of a really good baseball team. When I was at Texas my freshman year, we finished dead last in our conference. Just one of those where things didn't go well. Team chemistry wasn't the best. And then
high expectations.
My last year that I played, we made it all the way to the College World Series. And it wasn't like we were 10 times more talented that first team, but you had good chemistry and your teammates pulled for you. And so, like, if one guy was struggling, there'd be 10 guys in the cages hyping him up and throwing BP to him and working with him of, hey, I've been through that. This is what helped me get out of it. And that's a big thing is, like, in baseball, if you're struggling, your teammates have also struggled in that same scenario. Your coaches have struggled in the same way. So talking to other people, hey, this is what I'm feeling and this is what's not working. That's huge. And it's your preparation. If you don't prepare and you don't work hard, you can't expect to have success in this game.
Yeah, and I think taking from what you said, I ask the mentality question a lot to a lot of our guests in every sport, and a lot of them always seem to at least reflect or mention like to lean on their teammates. Like, I should have leaned on my teammates more.
Yeah.
I should have maybe not have snapped at my coaches and been more understanding, or maybe reached out to them instead of, push away,
Yeah.
especially since usually when things don't go your way, it's more of an egotistical problem.
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
in baseball.
Yeah.
Because, when all you see is failure, you're like, I swear it's like the world's punishing me. and it's not, but it's like at the same time it is because it's baseball, right?
Yeah.
From that perspective, switching it to your own personal mentality when you were going through your own college career, how was it? How did you deal with the mentality, or what changed for you mentally going from stud freshman in high school? You probably grazed through high school doing really well, committed to UT, you go to UT, you play, then you sit, and then, you have like a very, I would say like not unstable, but maybe not as consistent as most players would like to have.
Yeah.
And how did that for you? How did you deal with that mentally?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's hard, no doubt. And everyone knows somebody that was a stud high school baseball player, and they get to college, and all their life they've been told how great they are.
They've been
and
that guy.
And that's something like day one in college. That's what they tell you is like, hey, freshman, every single one of you was the best player on your high school team, and probably the best player on your tournament team, but so was everybody else around you. And once you get to college, it doesn't matter whether you played 3A baseball, 6A baseball, and were a state champion. Like, it's you versus me.
That's right.
And so it's you have to be mentally tough. And there's people that are super talented, had such a great high school career, and then when they get to college, it's all mental. They just can't handle the mental pressure. And so just staying consistent and leaving things at the field that need to be left there and not taking them home. Every day waking up with, it's a new day, whatever's happened in the past is in the past, but there's always fighting for something in the future. And so that was a big thing of, if you had a really crappy day, don't take it home with you. Don't take it to the classroom. Don't take it home. Kind of fight through it and then leave it at the field. Leave it in the locker room. Go home, refresh. And a big thing of the mental aspect of it is finding something else you're passionate about that may not be baseball. A mental refresh is huge.
Yeah.
Whether that's fishing and hunting or other hobbies. Just something that is not baseball.
Can take your mind away from the negativity.
Because sometimes that's all you need is just a refresh and reset. Because there were times where I would go home and just think about my swing the entire night, and then next day in class, all I'm thinking about is my swing.
Yeah, sometimes you can't.
And it is the most challenging part, but you have to have kind of be able to separate those two things.
Yeah, exactly. So what'd you major in?
I was a finance major.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
I work for a family office doing finance and accounting work for them.
What do you do part-time?
I coach 10-year-old baseball.
All righty. Let's dive into that one. That one sounds a little bit more interesting to me, and I think we don't have that much time left. So as much as I'd love to talk about finance.
I could talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah, sounds good. So when did you start coaching these 10-year-olds or kids, or did you start when they were 8? And
so it was about this time last year.
Okay.
So to give you a background, somebody that my boss and another coworker had kids that were 9 years old, and they got to the age where dads could not coach them anymore.
Makes sense.
And everyone gets to that, and they just
100%.
needed somebody else. And so it was about 3 years between when I graduated or stopped playing baseball at Texas to when I got back into the game of coaching. And I was always looking for something to get back. And, a big thing is giving back to the game, that what it gave you.
Sure.
Like, I learned so much from my coaches, and they shaped me into, I wouldn't be in this chair today if it weren't for my coaches. So kind of paying that back of what the game gave to you. And so that's how I got into it. So
we all know the good parts that come with it. So what are some of the struggles you have seen as a coach for 10-year-olds?
Yeah, it's 10-year-olds is a unique age because they don't really have that much, focus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mental focus. That's a huge thing because
Yes.
you could tell a kid, hey, we're gonna do this right now. You go back to home plate and you hit a ball, and they just forget what they're doing. So keeping them focused is a huge thing.
How do you do that? How do you do that specifically?
You don't put them all in the same place together because if you do, they're gonna go crazy.
They're gonna go nuts. Yeah.
And
Feed off each other.
especially at 10 years old, you got to have some intentional small group kind of one-on-one and keep them focused and just getting more reps. That's the thing at that age. They were making the transition from dad pitch to kid pitch. And so just the more reps that you see, the more comfortable you get. And we struggled a little bit at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. And part of that was because I didn't know how to coach 10-year-olds, your baseball career can only teach you so much. I promise you it doesn't teach you how to coach 10 years old.
It doesn't teach you how to deal with children. That's
exactly.
for sure. You've been the child your whole life.
The only way you kind of learn that is just by going through it. And so we found a routine that was best for us. And you learn, watching them, things come up in games, like for example, an infield fly. Mm-hmm. My assistant coach Nick and I, we're yelling infield fly, because that's something that baseball of course we know what infield fly is, but they're all like, what is going on? And it's just like stuff like that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. We have to teach them this sort of stuff.
The basics, yes. So when it comes to that, because I believe when I talked to Nick about it, y'all are pretty competitive, and are y'all a travel ball team?
We're local to Houston.
But you travel to different places to play tournaments. So
yeah.
Yes, okay. Not a league ball. You're not tied to a league.
No, correct.
Okay, so when it comes to keeping your kids accountable, especially because they're at their age where they don't need to be coddled. They need to be taught.
Yeah.
But it's also getting to a point where you shouldn't have to yell at them to do it, right?
Yeah.
So how do you keep them accountable, because you can only practice on a field so many days a week.
Yeah.
Then you have the games, and then they got school, and then parents have lives. There's extracurricular activities. How do you hold your kids accountable practicing outside of practice and continuing to play baseball?
Yeah, really the only thing we can do is show them, hey, if this is where you want to go, it's going to take more than 2 hours of practice a week. Whatever you can do, whether it's hitting soft toss in the backyard or just playing catch. Especially at 10 years old, playing catch is huge. That's how you
necessary.
Yeah. Exactly. And just reps are huge, and that's how you're gonna get better and play better, and eventually become a great baseball player. Is just continue to get reps and work.
Yeah, and I coach a 12-year-old team, and kind of the things that I hold them accountable is, well, for one, from my career compared to a 12-year-old is a Hall of Fame career at that point, to a 12-year-old. But I tell them the things that you want, the places you want to go. If you want to go for the glory or the cameras or the people, the crowd, the experience, I was like, you need to put in the work. There's X, Y, and Z people doing it, and then I put responsibility onto them. I put responsibility on them, and I also push responsibility on the parents, not so that they make sure that Junior is busting his butt day in, day out, and working out 5 days a week. Because, honestly, no parent wants to do that. Yeah. And I'm not trying to push a kid to do something he doesn't want to do, and make baseball an inconvenience. If the kid has the drive, they'll do it all on themselves. If they want to be at the next level, they'll practice baseball. They'll love baseball. They'll do it all on their own. I think all three of us are symbols of that, as well as most people that play in the MLB and play in college baseball. But I will also say that what I mean by putting responsibility on the parents is I'm pushing responsibility I'm telling the parents, I have told Junior this, and this, and they should be doing this, and this. I go, you will have to remind him sometimes. Yeah. And I go, but you shouldn't be reminding him all the time. Mm-hmm. And if it gets to a point where they're not doing it and they are now dragging the team down, I was like, two things are going to happen. And I told some parents this the other week. I was like, two things are going to happen. I was like, one, the kid's going to get alienated himself because, with errors and mistakes, it doesn't go unnoticed, especially when I'm making an elite team that doesn't do that. And then the second thing is I tell them, I was like, you need to reevaluate whether you want to keep spending all this money.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm not cheap. I was like, these tournaments aren't as cheap. They don't even cover your hotel bill or your entry fee or and you're paying for his gear. You're buying him a $400 bat every season.
Yeah.
Every spring, every fall, looks like. You know, y'all want to do matching bags and outfits and jerseys and have all these different combos, but like I'm not dressing up with 14 kids that dress up as a highlighter to lose and to not be official, you know? Like, or I don't, like, you know, you want to do all this stuff. So I was like, you really need to reevaluate whether you're going to keep shelling thousands of dollars into something that the kid doesn't really take seriously. Because like there are kids that take this seriously, and like he might have fun and you might be okay shelling out this money as long as he's having fun. But in 2 years, it's going to turn into fun versus, you know, he got cut. Yeah. You know, and so that's what I mean by putting pressure on those parents and being like, this is where we're at. Yeah. And two things can either happen. He can either like start working on his own and being promising, or you guys need to reevaluate if you really need to be here. Yeah. You know, because like the league is for everyone. He could play all throughout high school if he really wanted to. But like if you want to go somewhere with it, it takes more than just practicing twice a week on a field. Yeah, for sure. With an hour of cage work. Yeah. And that's what I've told our kids too, is like, especially at 10 years old, effort is a huge thing, especially when you experience some failure. It's hard to handle failure at such a young age, and especially playing a sport like baseball. Like, if you don't get a hit every time, you're going to be upset. But if you're not giving 100% effort, that's where that kind of bugs me. Yeah. If you're going all out and you're making errors, or you're striking out, but you're putting up good at-bats and I know you care. You're making an adjustment to succeed. We live with that. That's baseball. Yeah, but if you're not putting in the effort, and it happens every once in a while where I have to tell the kids, look, I don't have to be out here. Your parents don't have to pay for you, but we're out here, and you not giving 100% effort, it's a waste of your parents' money. It's a waste of your parents' time. Because if you're not going to go all in and you're not going to hustle and do the things that you can control, it's not worth it. You know, Nick and I, maybe we would love to go play golf on a Saturday instead of coaching, you know, but we want to be out there. Not even your kids. You know, God forbid. And we love coaching and we love to be out there, but we expect them to give us full effort. And results, especially at 10 years old, don't matter. You know, if we lose the game, we're not upset that we lost the game. It's all about I will say your competitive nature takes in, and you're like, man, I wish we would have won that game. For sure. But you're not mad at the kids for it. Absolutely. But even if you win 12-0 and your kids are just going through the motions and they're not giving full effort, we'd be ticked off by that. Right, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Caston, unfortunately, has already been an hour, and I know we could talk all day, but we do not have all day. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. We have to get you on again. Thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching.